We are live. You can start, Maria.
Today guests someone who experienced sports for almost every possible angle. He starts as a professional Counter-Strike player, built his career in startups and tech, helped transform ninjas and pajamas into global business, found Fusion and Sports Club, and now serves as CEO of Astralis. So it's a pleasure to welcome Jonas Gundersen to Esports 101. But the best person to present yourself is, of course, you, Jonas.
Oh, I don't know about that, but well, thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Jonas. For those that don't know me, I guess the turbo resume is I used to be a professional Counter-Strike player before it was cool. Well, we thought it was cool back then, but this was in 2002, 2005, 6, something like that. And since then, after leaving the sport because I peaked a bit too early, I've been a professional poker player for quite a while. I released an album. I did music for a while. And then I went into startups, being an entrepreneur for some 15 years, and then predominantly in tech. And then I ended up back in esports 8 or 9 years ago, where I guess predominantly people know me from the NIP times, where I was for 5 years. We took it public on NASDAQ after a great run there. And then now lately, since I was here last time, we just realized it's 3 years ago since I've been here last time. Many things happened. And now we started Fusion Esports Group a little year ago with the acquisition of Astralis. So I'm still here in esports, apparently.
Jonas, my wife used to say that every time that I try to leave esports, they just suck me back. They say like, no, 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 come back here. You have to work with that. I think it's the same of you. Andy, you said that you started as a pro player in 2002, right?
Yeah.
I have never think about that, but I think you have played against Kogu, right? Kogu is one of the biggest guys in Brazil.
Yeah. I have a photo with him from the HLTV Awards. We're vibing about playing together. Yeah.
Let me create one bad atmosphere for you. He was good. He was good that they say, or not too good?
Oh, he was great. Oh no, at that time, no. He was when he came. We had the craziest story actually with that because we came. I played one time in Rio. I think it's in 2003 where there's a player on the MIBR team that had a dad that was quite rich. I think like he was whatever. He was hosting a tournament, so they flew us down there, us and 6 other teams, for like a mini tournament. So we spent like 2 weeks there to just sort of practice with the Brazilian teams and play a tournament there. And I remember very specifically when we were training, like this was the first. This is in 2003, right? So this was so new that we could practice against MIBR, like just on LAN. And honestly, Kogu was shitting on us in all the practices. He was so good, like with the AWP, and he was for sure the best AWPer, I think, at that time. He was great. I think he was very good.
And he's really competitive because I started to watch esports because of him. He lived like I don't know, 5 minutes by walking from my house. So he played in a LAN house that I could watch like behind him. And in that time, he was really competitive. But today, I still watch him in Twitch. And sometimes he does like the games like you play with the audience, And when he lost, he got crazy. It's amazing because he doesn't like to lose until now, It's like, guys, you don't know the basic. You need to know the basic.
I think if you're competitive, it never really goes away, I think... And back then, all we had to compete for was, the passion for competition and the glory, because there was definitely no money in it. That's for sure.
Right. And the first one question that I think it's really important for people who is watching now, you started in 2002 as a pro player. How old are you? And have you worked before, or you have never worked, saying like outside of esports?
Before I played, you mean, or in general?
In general.
In general, I've been away for a long time. But yeah, I started, can't even remember. I think it's 2002, 2001 or something like that. I played a lot of different video games, but it was around when, I think it was Counter-Strike 1.4, because they did this change where you couldn't jump anymore and shoot. And I came from a game where you couldn't jump and shoot. So a lot of people hated that, and I thought it was good vibes. So I think I came in there, but this is, I don't know, it's 2001, something like that. And And I came straight. Actually, I went to school, but then I didn't really make it further than the primary. I guess it's called primary school, but at 16, I quit school at 16, and then I was just doing stuff and then playing video games. But I then left esports, I'd say, as around 2006, right? And from there, I did not work with esports at all until I came back in, I think it was 18 or something like that. I think at the end of 18, I was in North Esports, which was the Danish. It was FC Copenhagen, the football club, and the Danish entertainment company, Nordisk that had done a team there. So I was away, honestly, from esports, and predominantly all my experience, it's getting closer now because I've been back for so long, but the majority of my experience in working comes from outside of esports.
So, what's the big lesson you have learned as a professional player that still helps you today?
That's a good question. I think it carries through, like, for sure. But I said this in another podcast recently that I think it's this. You have to have this ruthless passion for getting better. Like, you have to always push and always be ready to fail and then want to get better, right? Because when you do something in life, it doesn't really matter if it's gaming or a business or a project, or you're trying to learn a skill, or you're trying to grow up. I don't know. There's many things we have to learn. We will be hit by so many, mistakes and defeats, and you simply have to take that energy, and instead of getting scared of saying, I failed over here, I'm not going to do that again because I don't like the feeling, which is very human, right? You have to do the other thing. You have to be like, all right, what can I learn? I want to go again. I want to see if I can do it better the next time, right? So I think that intrinsic motivation to always do your best and keep trying to get better no matter what through failure, I think is the number one most important component. And I think gaming has it in, obviously it's competitive by nature because we're playing multiplayer games and we're trying to beat each other. But there's so many small instant sort of resets you can do all the time. If it's a Counter-Strike round, right, you get to go again immediately. Or if it's a fight in Dota or League of Legends or whatever, right, this is always something. You can requeue. So I think that's number one for me, for sure, that it's this, essentially life is a game of iteration and just constantly, improving. So not being afraid of failure and just taking it one defeat at a time and learning from it.
And between that time that you were outside of esports, you said that you were a professional or a poker pro player, and you worked in different companies, right? If I'm right, you worked in a company that as a VP of sale. You worked in a company of graduates, like in business, as a head of business development. I used to say in my experience that when I left Pen Game in 2013, it was really good for me because I had time to learn new things, to improve myself. How was that for you? How was that experiences for you? I know that you don't regret to work in this company, but you regret when I say you left the esports, or it was something that nowadays you see like it's important for my growth?
Yeah, like obviously now I wouldn't change it, right? Because I like my life and who I've become, I suppose. But I think also now you talked a bit about younger audience and stuff like that. I think I've learned over the years not to think so much about that, because when I look back at it, when I was in the moment, I don't think there was any, bigger plan to any of it. It was just like I think I've been pretty notorious on just going for the vibe and saying like, I don't know, this sounds fun. Let's try and work with that. And then if I liked it, I did it a bit more, and if I didn't like it, I didn't do it. And I think that's probably where it should start, like thinking about stuff like this. When I left esports in 2006 to get a real job, I think that was just a natural sort of, I don't know, I was getting older at that time and didn't feel right for me to keep going, and wanted to do something else, but I didn't think that much about it. But looking back, like just to answer it two different ways, of course, it's been amazing having been away, I think, from esports for so long, getting my experience somewhere else and then applying that back into esports rather than having been in esports the whole time. But I think on a more philosophical level, I think it's only something you learn when you look back at it. I think when you are in the moment, I would always just say, just go for it. Right? If you want to learn something, throw yourself out there. Don't be afraid to fail. If you got a passion for a field, whether it's engineering, medical field, writing poems, I don't know, whatever you want to do, just go for it. And then I think life has a way of sort of showing you the path you can take, and then you grow as a person through that. If that makes sense.
So, did you already see yourself becoming a business executive back then? Like, seeing?
God, no. And I think most people around me would never have seen that. I think, no, definitely not. But it's kind of like I was saying before, I don't think I had a plan like for so much. I think the only plan I've always had is just to grow, right? And see what I can create and what I can learn and see what the world has in store for me, right? So no, I definitely don't think that was always in the cards, but it feels natural now that I'm here, right? I think there's a lot of similarities into business and taking a career where you can learn from esports. And obviously, I think I'm one of the few, I guess, that took a professional playing career and have managed to sort of show that, hey, you can actually make a career happen after if you apply yourself, which I guess is some of the topics I speak a lot about at the moment, right? But kind of like I was saying before, I don't think anything was given at that time, like of where it was going to be. I think especially in the early days of gaming, you have to remember it was so new and it wasn't as respected as it is now. I still think we have a long to go in being widely respected as gamers, but it was. We were the weird kids, I think, that didn't quite find our way in life, and then we were sitting in the basement playing video games. So I don't think anyone had any hopes for us to turn out into something. But luckily, a lot of us did.
So another question I have is, what college did you do? And if you had some MBA or something like that, I really want to know.
Sure. Well, I didn't actually, right? So I quit school at 16. So back then,
just one question, Jonas. 16,
Sure.
16, which is what grade in high school? You remember?
Yeah, but it's hard to say. The Danish system works in a way where from 15 you go to the 9th grade, which I think is the end of primary school, which is like I can't remember the terms
No,
on
that's
the
okay.
international
Don't
ones,
worry.
right?
But 16.
And I think it's before high school. High school, I think, is called gymnasium some places, right? So it's before high school, essentially, right?
Perfect.
So I did the 9th grade, and then I did a 10th grade, which is like not a boarding school, but like a school where you stay there. It was a music school I went to, essentially.
Right.
And then everybody was going to high school, and I did not because, I don't know, that wasn't the vibe, I guess. So I actually didn't go to school, which at the time was also quite unique. I think people not going to school or finding different paths was not as popular, I'd say, even though, again, this is many years ago, right? So it's different in the young generation, Maria, that I think you represent, and the listeners are coming up in. There's way more opportunities, I think, for your generation now to have different paths than there. Back then, I think in most school systems, depending on the countries, but in most countries, there was a pretty set path, right? You have to do this, and then you go to high school, and then there's that. Now we have a wide array of digital educations or specialized educations or business education you could do rather than the generic high school, right? So I think I would have probably ended in something like that back then, but it didn't really work. So school didn't happen, honestly. It was just gaming and then working. So that's also, it's weird. I'm 43 now, to answer the question from before, but I've been working also with gaming, I feel like actively for like 25 years, pretty much, right? And then to stay on the school topic, I did not do any school until I did an MBA in... See, there's so much that happened in my life. I can't remember all the dates of it. I want to say 17 or something like that. I want to say 17. I did an MBA, like an executive MBA with like it was like a hybrid online thing with Stanford, just because I just ended in a place in my career where I think, if I'm to speak positive about education, I think you do learn a lot about how the world works, and there's a terminology and how to speak business and stuff. And I didn't quite know that because I was self-taught, even though I was good at it. I needed sort of the vocabulary, the understanding of what it was. And then I did years of this executive MBA to sort of I don't know, learn how to speak in the rooms that I was currently finding myself in, which was an immense help. Like having that, right? It's not, I didn't learn anything I didn't necessarily know, but I learned how to put it into proper context. But that was that 1 year of school, and I think that's enough now. Like, so we just
maybe
no more
in
school.
10 years I do another one, but that's okay
Yeah,
for now.
maybe another. I don't know.
I have one global question for you. It's more my curiosity, because when you started to play, it was everything you used to say. It was grass, no one plays in that time. It was still
Yeah.
beginning. The first question is, when you understand that it wasn't more a hobby, because when you play in SK game, I don't know in that time, but today is one of the biggest one.
Yeah.
Uh,
They were back
so
then also.
then when you understand that it was more than a hobby, and try to do one comparison with today, how it changed for that.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. Actually, I think, and I think actually the answer kind of segues into what I find to be a complication I think we have at the moment. But the answer is, back then, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. First of all, what does it mean to not be a hobby anymore? I remember Sai Wu saying not too long ago, was it after they won the previous major or something like that? I can't remember. And his interview was just saying, like, I don't know, I just love playing Counter-Strike. Like, they're trying to put it into meaning for him and stuff like that. And he essentially just answers that. He just loved playing Counter-Strike. And that's how I remember it. You know what I mean? That the experiences we have back then, even though we were playing tournaments and, the biggest tournaments there was, I don't know, it was just good people traveling around and, with no money and playing weird competitions and weird hotel lobbies around the world. And I just want to play all the time. I thought it was so fun. And even when we played finals and stuff like that, I don't recall feeling like it wasn't a hobby, if you know what I mean, right? And obviously, I think, sure, the spectrum was different back then because it was smaller at the end of the day. And of course, again, there was no money in it, right? So it's not like any of us were going pro anyways or living from it. So I don't know. Like, and I think it was just always a hobby. But then, if I'm to ask about when did it become competitive, in the sense of how I realized that it was more a competitive thing for me, that was always. I always loved the competition side of it, right? So it was always about competing, trying to beat people and stuff like that. But it was always a hobby, I feel like. If I'm to compare it into today, which I think is natural in most markets, when a lot of money comes into something, we are obviously a very different place today than what we were 20 or so years ago. I think we lost that a bit along the way, which I think is challenging sometimes, right? That we became a heavily over-commercialized industry too fast. That means too much money flows in a not sustainable way, where the money sort of overtakes the passion for actually playing the game, right? That's a balance. I think we're battling with at the moment. That does not mean that people should not get paid to play or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, I think any healthy competition or aspirational field has to start with, I'd do it anyways if there was no money in it, because I love it and I want to become the best. If you only do it because, hey, I like it, and also there's a good paycheck, I just don't think you're going to be good enough, if you know what I mean, right? So I think that's obviously people still love to play here, but I think it's a transition phase we're fighting at the moment, where salaries are coming down and stabilizing a bit more, so we can have a healthy and sustainable ecosystem altogether. And I think most players have to find back to that, or new people coming in from high school or whatever, thinking about, hey, you do it because you love it, right? Not because it's just money.
I have a question that it's because I worked with that. Maybe it's crazy, but I will see if it makes sense for you. In 2020 to 2022, more or less, something like that. I worked in a university. I worked in a university. I helped them. It was when I had this idea of the podcast. I worked with the Generation Z, doing like workshops, teams for the play, and everything. Do you think that maybe university can be like a way to help that? Because I feel that, especially Counter-Strike, because I'm going to say something that maybe I will be canceled, but that's okay. Counter-Strike, I think I don't have data, but I think you have, that it's the biggest game today. When I'm saying like in salary and everything, do you think that university maybe it's a way to help that bubble that it's happening today? Because there are a lot of teams, especially in Brazil no, but like in US, Canada, a lot of leagues from university and college. What do you think about that? Maybe it's a way to help because they are going to be more used to play, and maybe you are not going to have like a unreal salaries and things like that.
Again, I think it's a great question, and I think sometimes I think we got lost in that logic you're saying there. Of course, I think university is good, but I think that the thing that keeps happening in the grassroots and in esports altogether is that we sort of become our own worst enemy. Everything has to be commercialized immediately. So when we do stuff like this, everybody wants a piece of the pie and wants to make a job out of it. Of course, I'm always for people getting jobs and all that, but you have to remember other sports, the vast majority of other sports, grassroots levels, are volunteer driven. Like it's driven by people loving what they do, they have a job, and then they volunteer into something. For some reason in esports, that's not really the way. Everything has to monetize the same way and then to try and make a job happen, right? And obviously that's easy for me to say, sitting here having a job in esports, but I think we just have to remember that, right? In the grand scheme of football, right? I am Real Madrid here, right? And then it's like saying that a fifth division club, everybody needs to be professional players. I mean, it doesn't work like that. Like in football, it literally doesn't work like that because the economy doesn't follow. So do I think this is the solution to many things? Absolutely. I think everybody should play esports, and I think we could do organized competition. But it's not like even football, the biggest thing in the world, doesn't necessarily have great university things in Brazil. There's not a great university league in Brazil, even though you're probably one of the biggest football countries in the world, right?
Yeah.
Is there somewhat semi-amateur organized tournaments everywhere, left, right, and center, all the way from the youth? Yeah, absolutely. Do they find a way with like a bit of government subsidies and they spend their time on that? Yeah, they do. And that's the same in the entire world of it, right? Why is that then different in the esports space, right? So I think we need to do that. Of course, there's an entry point where you need some computers, et cetera, and stuff like that. So setting up a club can be a bit more complicated. But I think there's been many, many opportunities, and there are many, many subsidy schemes and stuff now that will help you get computers set up no matter where you are in the world. I'd imagine if I came to most partners and said now, hey, I want to do a volunteer club, right? We're going to do this. All I need is 20K euros. I have to scramble together 20K euros for the whole setup, and we're going to run the club. It's going to be volunteer, bit of payment, and we'll have some volunteers. That people are going to love that, right? So you're hitting a topic which I care a lot about because I think it is there, but sometimes we have a way of talking about it in a way of saying, oh, this is all dead and all the money is in tier one, so there's no bridge. Well, it comes back to what I said before. Are we doing this because we're trying to make it a commercial thing for everybody right now? Or are we doing this because of the love of the games, right? That's ultimately where all these other sports started, that you love it and you want to work with it and you find a way to make something happen with it. So could it solve it? Yeah, for sure. But I think it already is, but people just have to keep leaning into it. We just have to keep pushing.
So
One second. Maria has a good question because she's talking to me, but I agree 100% of for you, but I think it's not because esports, Jonas. I'm working like because I think you are working with esports. I'm working outside of esports. The podcast is more a hobby because I love esports. Okay, I'm going to be canceled again, but I think it's more about generation. They don't have passions. They want first get the reward, then after work, this is you said like everyone wants to get money, everyone want to have a job. It's because more of generation, even in the universe, that it's a place that where they are learning. If I didn't have something that they feel that they are winning, it was hard to get them,
yeah, and
Sorry, Murray.
I can have like something I experienced like so For that, like when I was in my school, I organized a champion of esports. We use like Valorant and other games, and they always said all they want is like to win, to have the reward, like the money we're gonna give to them, and they don't have this special, like just to play for just be fun and to, what I can say that, yeah, to be fun, to be with your friends and do something cool with that with your sports. But the question I'm gonna ask you is not about that. But what I wanted to know is you moved to Silicon Valley, right? And startup. And I want to know what this teach you. Like, what's the lesson you learned?
It does a lot. If I could I just want to anchor, because what you're saying, I think is super important. Like just that point also. It's before I answer that, because I agree to an extent, like that there's something about the new generations where, let's call it, more instant gratification and all that. I do, however, also think it's so easy to fall into these like false positives that we just blame it's a generation thing. I'm sure our parents will also have done it, right? Oh, those are the Gen Zs. Oh, those are the baby boomers, right? I don't think it's true. And I think having led people now for 20 years, like across all age spectrums, right? I also lead fairly young people now and all that. And I just think it's different, right? They have different ways of looking at what purpose means. Do I think there's an element where they need to be told, well, suck it up, work hard for 2 years, and then let's see? Yeah, I think that's a good lesson for these to learn. But I do think similar points will have happened to other generations, right? So it's just a different way of leading altogether. And it's harder, I guess, to mobilize people to do, I don't know, fun stuff. Like if you've tried it, Maria, right? It is hard to get people to just do it for fun at the moment, right? Because it's like, oh, what's in it for me? Well, I don't know, 2 weeks of organizing a tournament and getting some skills together for that and playing something. That's great fun, right? On the other hand, I will say then, I also see this, let's say that's happening right now with the younger generation. For people like you, Maria, or in that age range, it's also one of the biggest opportunities, because you can stick out so much if you just are willing to go the extra mile and say like, hey, I actually don't care. I want to host a tournament. Okay. How do you do that? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. Then you're going to stand out immediately, right? So I think this is just this natural cycle of something got too easy and then everybody gets lazy. Then some people, the Marias of the world, are going to stick up and say, hey, I'm going to do something different. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, I also have to do something then, right? So I think that's a generational thing, but also it's just a natural cycle. Anyways, a side comment on that. You were asking about Silicon Valley, what that taught me. San Francisco, was it, essentially. What do you try and rephrase it, Maria? What are you trying to learn? Because it taught me so many things. Specifically, what part do you want to know about what I learned from it?
I guess it's like a lesson you keep for your life, from you take from that. Like, I guess it's that, like the lesson you take from that to your life. Yeah.
Okay. San Francisco in general at that time still is, you can answer this question in so many ways, because San Francisco is so many things. I think what it taught me at that time, this was me leaving Denmark and trying to go abroad and see, hey, maybe there's something different. Maybe there's a different way of doing things, that I've always felt a bit like alienated from the country I grew up in, even though I've traveled a lot. So I've been exposed to many cultures. I just didn't quite feel at home in Denmark, still don't. What San Francisco taught me is that when you condense so many like-minded people together that have the same positive spirit, the same growth mindset, and the same, I don't know, willingness to help each other, build volunteer tournaments, or, create something, it is infectious. Like if you surround yourself with people that are genuinely interested in helping you, and of course you helping them, and building something together, it is a complete game changer of your life. So if there's something that it meant for me, outside of now, it means many things, because some of my best friends in the world today are people I met over there that are still my best friends, entrepreneurs and whatnot. but it is the learning for sure that there's a place for you. There's definitely somewhere. If you have an energy inside you and you feel like you're in the wrong environment, change your environment, find your people, and you can watch your world just expand like to massive degrees, right? So because they over there, they at that time they were dreaming big, like all the time. The startups in Denmark was a bit like smaller, and here it was just the world was open, right? But I think find the places with the most like-minded people you can, the energy you want to become, step into that space, and then just become it, right? Which is not too dissimilar to esports if you look the right places, right? There's a lot of passionate people there.
I don't even imagine how is that to be in Silicon Valley, because like I don't know for you, but for Brazilian is like the dream place for everyone, because you know that the biggest companies are there, you know, especially in tech. So I don't even imagine it. And in your time that you were outside of esports, you did a lot of things like poker. You if I'm not crazy, you founding a company, the After Cloud, everything. Then in 2018, you come back to esports in North Esports.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What happens? Passionate or be honest, like money? It was a good proposal.
Definitely not money. That's definitely not why I came back. That's the very opposite. Still not because of money. I'm here. I often ask myself, or I'm asked by my friends also, what are you still doing in esports? Like, I don't know. I love it, but yeah, it's funny, like, because I was away for so long, and funnily enough, did not follow esports. When I left in 6 or so, I didn't even look at esports for 10 years. I didn't follow gaming at all. So I have no idea. And that was kind of fun when I came back, right? All this, even the NIP era, I wasn't there for that, right? Because I quit before it, like in the Fnatic eras and the early stages of everything. I just wasn't there. I wasn't following, which had a benefit, I think, when I came back in. But anyways, I think what happened was I was doing pretty well, I'd say. Was about to join a company, actually, as a commercial co-founder in B2B SaaS, software as a service, which I had spent some time on. That had a great product, and they wanted me to scale the whole thing, and they just raised a ton of money, and I was going to build a team of like 50, 100 people or something like that. I was like, that sounds fun. And then someone called from North and said, hey, we need you in esports now because there's sort of money. And I think now you've been away, we need someone with your skill set because you know what we are, but you've been away for so long and you know how to build business practices and you sort of get it. I'm like, I don't know about that. And then I came to the interview with North, and I don't know, the office was in the Danish National Stadium, you know, overlooking the pitch and stuff. There was computers, there was gamers. I'm like, this looks pretty fun. And if you remember what I said earlier, that I don't think that much sometimes. I just go for the vibe. And then I took a long, hard week of reflection, I think, on this company I was supposed to join, which would definitely have been a lot more money. And they did pretty well also, actually. So it would definitely have been more money. But it just felt like, you know, when I played, there was not a lot of money in it. All of a sudden, the money had come in, and it was about to come into maturity where you could start seeing the cycles that will come in, right? The operational cycles, we go up, we go a bit down, we have to iterate. And I figured that it was probably going to be this, like, I have one regret in life, also related to esports, right? But I try to keep it at one. And I think this would have been another one. I just figured out that if I don't go in this position, right, it was a C-level position at North, great company, esports, looks fun, I would have regretted it. And so you could say passion was the driver of something that felt so wholesome because I care so much about esports. But I didn't know at the time I will say that I'm still here, now having bought a team, and how much I actually do love what it is we're doing and where we're heading. But at that time, it was more like, I probably have to do that.
I wouldn't ask that, but you give me a hook. I have to ask, what is this one regret you said?
The regret is, I've said it one time before. In 2004, I think it is, something came called the World Esports Games. This was South Korea, that did this where they invited team to come and live in Seoul for half a year, and you'd play in a studio, everything paid, you were living for it. And we got invited with SK, and then we talked as a team about it, and because two of our players at that time, one was finishing school that he really wanted to do, and another one was kind of unsure if he wanted to go. And we had the meeting on, well, maybe we just changed them. And they were like, we're okay with that. We understand, like, if you do. We didn't. We ended up not doing that. And then being solidaric to the team. And then I got kicked 2 months after, you know? So, and even the kicking part I can live with. But it's more like, I think they will say it also today. We should have done that. We should have done that. Because at that time, man, you change teams every 3 months or something like that, right? It was always, because there was no money and everything, right? Yeah. And I don't know where it would have led if I would have been a better pro player or whatever. But living there at that time in South Korea, damn, I should have done that one.
Oh, I'm going to say my experience, okay? I understand why you didn't go in that time, because I don't know if I wasn't too, but I agree with you. You should go.
Exactly, I know, right? I've told this story to so many people now. There's not anyone that says, no, you probably made the right choice. Like, no, I don't think I did.
No, I agree.
You know, everything has a meaning and blah, blah. I don't know. It probably turned out great anyways. But anyways, I should have done that.
And one thing that I think it's really nice in your career is that usually when you see, say.
Wait, can I say something like comes in my mind and I want to ask like a lot? So you was all that we call C's, like CMO, COO, and now CEO. So I want to know what the difficulties of all of this, and like what's the difference between them, like between the CEO, COO, and CMO, and or they are similar. I don't know.
Oh, there's a phone call.
No, don't worry, that's okay.
We're back. You were asking what the difference is between the different C-level positions.
Yeah.
Are you asking because you want to know sort of how to get there, or what kind of skill set it requires, or the difference between them? Just help me understand. I'm more than happy to answer it anyway.
I guess I want to know like the difficulty to be in this place, and how do you get them? How do you, like, the skills we need? Like, it's a little of all of this, you know?
Okay. So just okay, fair enough. Yeah, because I think there's many ways.
Just one second. I think she's asking because, especially in Brazil, when you get one job like you did, like CEO, you have to specialize in that. It's really hard for you see in Brazil someone who is CMO, COO, and CEO, or he's like the operational part and everything is about operation, or you are in the executive part. It's really hard. Like you are COO, that is operation. Now you are executive. You have done the CMO. I think it's more because of that. I think she's not used to see someone who was in the biggest in the biggest job in each career. You know.
It's all right. It sounds more flashy than it is, Maria. I can tell you that. But let me try and answer it in a way that I think is going to help then, right? Because one thing is, if we go on the C-level kind of thing, like the difference of the C-levels, that is, it's a chief marketing officer or a chief operational officer or a chief executive officer, chief financial, whatever it is, chief commercial, right? They can mean very many different things depending on what kind of company you work for, right? It's usually like it's obviously very different being a chief commercial officer in a high growth software company than it is to be a chief commercial officer in a semiconductor factory or something like that, right? These are two very different things at the end of the day. So the skill sets may align somewhat, but they're very different things. So the first thing to remember is chief marketing officer can span many different places, right? It just depends on the context that you're working in general, right? Secondly, remember, C-level, I mean, you just make a company, then you're a CEO, right? That's what I did, essentially, right? I made Fusion, then I'm a CEO. Look at that. That's so you can always just start your own company where it's different than obviously getting up there over time. But if I'm to answer it then on, okay, fair enough, I'm probably a CEO because I also know what I'm doing rather than just having started a company, having been in the C-level for so long. I think, again, trying to answer to the audience and some younger people, right? I think it starts with understanding that your career compounds into something, right? You can't speed run some of these things, right? Because yeah, sure, what does it mean to be an executive? Well, it means you have all the responsibility. You have to do leadership, recruitment, you have to fire people, you have to know the strategy, you have to figure out the business model, all that stuff. Half the time, I don't freaking know where we're going anyways, right? But I try to figure it out, right? And I try to ask people that are smarter than me, and I try to feel the market and stuff like that. The way I do that, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I think
the way I do that is obviously just by listening to my experience and going about who do I ask, what do I ask them, what do I think about a certain business, what do I think about a certain market, right? But you have to remember when you're getting started with your career, for example, you mentioned before, Marcelo, right, that I was a VP of sales, right? I have a 10-year career in commercial development, right? So I sold stuff. Like essentially, I think that's I'm old enough to say now. There was 10 years where I sold stuff, right, in all shapes and forms, right. I've scaled sales companies or sales units and hired people and know what it takes to take a product to market. That is sort of where I come from, right. So you have to start first building skills, right. You have to do the reps. You have to be an intern. You have to be an associate somewhere. You know, like I said before, also, okay, you want to be a salesperson. Well, you have to do it for a while. You can't just be like, okay, now I worked in sales for 6 months. I'm ready to be the next thing. No, you have to do it. You have to actually do the work. And what then happens with your career slowly is that you move up in the grades, is that you will get more and more responsibility. And because you have done the job, rather than just talking about doing the job, you will be able to take the next step all the time because it's like muscle memory, right? And then there's one big distinction, Maria, which comes where you are a high ranked specialist, like a senior. And then there's two paths. There is, do you want to be a senior specialist forever, maybe with a +1, or do you want to go into leadership? These are two different things. And I make a big point out of saying always, leadership is not necessarily the natural trajectory of everybody. You don't have to become a CEO to be successful. It's not necessarily the best level.
Hello?
Great at it. Like they're great at it. They don't lead people because they don't want to. They'd happily take a leader that is younger than them and say, like, just tell me where to run. I'll do my thing. And they deliver results, right? But that's the path, which is an entirely different conversation on what does it take to be a leader, you know, do strategy and all that stuff. I know it feels like a deep topic we could go on, Maria. So I hope I'm answering some of it at least. Or please ask more.
So between these three, have one of them you prefer, like how you find most funny to have, or like less boring? I don't know.
The C levels, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Which ones have I? I have the CCO and the COO and the CEO. I guess.
CMO. That is the. I think it's the CMO is the.
I don't have CMO.
CMO,
I was definitely Chief Commercial, and I've been COO and the CEO. Yeah. Which one's the most fun? Honestly, they feel kind of the same. It's kind of like I said before. There was CCO, where at C level, what you do is commercial development. But at that level, commercial development is working with the entire organization to make the organization ready for selling the product. Right? You don't just go out and say to some people, here, sell, and they tell the organization, good luck. You have to make sure the organization is aligned to do it, right? As a COO and NIP, when I joined Hisham there, which I saw you just had on the show, by the way, that's fun. That's yeah, it was good to hear his story again. It's been a while. Yeah, I joined Hisham as a COO, but essentially what we did there is, on paper, I'm a terrible COO, actually, when you think about it. But I'm a growth-minded, sort of like co-CEO thing. That's what me and Hisham did. I sort of took the commercial side, the esports side, and the people side. That's what I ran. So that's kind of operations, but not really, right? But it just sort of fit. Then Hisham could focus marketing and finance, obviously, right on it, because that was the most important part at that time, right? So we sort of just divided and conquered there. Is that a COO kind of thing? I don't know. It was a growth profile. We needed to go from, I don't know, we were 10 employees. There's a lot of things that need to be hired and built. So that worked for a while. But technically, I'd say I'm a pretty bad COO fit, essentially. But back to my point, COO can mean many different things, and it changes over time. At the time I came in, that was the perfect COO for us. As we came later, which Hisham has also explained in a lot of parts, it was not a great fit anymore because I do different stuff, right? When you're a bigger company, they go really wide of what they do now. I'm not the right fit for it anymore because I'm an entrepreneurial, more growth-minded COO, right? So they did some great moves, and we changed it there, right? So, and then the CEO is, I don't know, I like that the most now, I guess, because I get to sort of build the culture the way I want it, right? And I get to sort of get the people in the context that I think we should be working in. So I enjoy that the most. And I also find, as a CEO, I find that I work for people more than they work for me. That's essentially my view on the job, is to make sure everybody succeeds, that we have the right strategy, we have the right setup, that people are empowered and they can do their thing. And then I try to get as much out of the way as possible, which my team will probably say I still do too little because I get too involved. But I think that is the job of a CEO. It's essentially a support function in many ways, right? I think many have in my view at least, right? I don't think the CEO's job is necessarily to be the one with the answers all the time, but you have to be really good at finding great people that have them. And of course, there's an element where you have to set vision, you have to set culture, you have to set direction, you have to show some decisiveness, which I like. But yeah, I don't know. They all have their benefits, Maria, at that time. Right now, I enjoy the CEO role the most. Maybe in 3 years I will have a different answer. I don't know. We can do it again in 3 years.
Yeah, every 3 years you come here. Every 3 years you come here.
Sure.
So I said for you before that I didn't want to talk so much about NIP because we did like one whole podcast about that. But last week I talked to Hisham. I think this is
Hisham, yeah.
Hisham. And to be 100% honest, I'm not going to lie, I was really surprised because I didn't know the NIP group. I knew the NIP team,
yeah,
but I didn't know the NIP group. It was like a blowing mind for me. I'm going to try to say the correctly pronunciation. NASDAQ.
NASDAQ, yeah.
NASDAQ. How was that for you? Because you were in that time when they go to NASDAQ, right?
Yeah.
How was that? Because it was the first time, or no? The first time for esports company?
No. Astralis had done it before and FaZe had done it before.
I didn't know. I think it was the first time. But how was that? It was hard. How it teaches you? Because I imagine that it was sorry the word, but a fucking so much work for do.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was great. Like, obviously, having been part of an IPO was amazing. I think the whole period we went through, I think, not even sure how much I can talk about it these days either, right? Maybe Hisham will slap me when I say something here, but it was a long process, the whole thing. And I think back when we were in it, I think it sort of just happened. Like, we were growing, we were expanding. I think Hisham had so many great visions of where we had to go. And, you know, the opportunities that came our way, I think we had a great way of sort of capitalizing and capturing those opportunities. And then merging with ESV5 down in China was great. Like, the whole thing was super exciting, right? There was merging together the entities, like operationally and culturally and stuff like that. That was a great exercise. Like, and all of a sudden we became really big. And I think at the time I was there, it was obviously esports was a massive component of it. There were some other businesses that ESV5 had at the time. They had some arenas. They had like a streamer business and stuff like that. And we were doing like a creative studio on top of that, right? So that was great alone. That was a very ambitious project in general. And just going that whole route, that was amazing, right? Obviously, that's I don't think many people can say that they were part of taking a company public on NASDAQ, right? So that was amazing. But what happened was also, I think that's the exact thing I was talking about before, actually, that me and Hisham were talking about it, that, okay, what are we doing here? Because ever since I joined him, we probably always knew that not necessarily was going to be forever, depending on where the company went. And again, my specialty, I think when we IPO'd, we had like 450 people or something like that. I don't think my specialty necessarily is running 450 people teams as a COO. And we knew that. Like, we essentially knew that. And we just talked about it around there. There's like, do you want to stay on, like go the big one, you know, and then obviously some more warrants, you get a log up, and then obviously the vision I knew about where we were heading, like with the huge vision that they're doing at the moment, and I just wasn't a great fit for it, I think, and so we decided just to part ways instead and say like that's a good timing. So right before the IPO, I was not part of the roadshow thing, and obviously when they rang the bell, I wasn't there either because you know, I turned the other way, but I think it was great. Like the whole thing, I think for me it was awesome. Even though it would have been great for my LinkedIn, I think having a photo ringing a NASDAQ bell, you know. But I was there in spirit for sure, and we had 5 great years, and a lot of my friends are still there, and you know, it's a great journey. One of the coolest moments of my life for sure. So good experience.
Nice. And after NIP, you start your another company from you is the Fusion Esports that you invest.
Yeah, a bit after actually. Like what happened was kind of like when we went public, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, right? Because we just had the 5 years with NIP, and I wanted to build again. Like I wanted to not start over, but I wanted to build something, and I wanted to have a bigger stake off at that time also. I think I spent a year's time actually, like from leaving NIP and just going around. I did some consulting, tried to figure out. There was a lot of things happening at that time also. You know, there was the foundation, Esports World Cup Foundation was starting to materialize. You know, the Saudis were getting involved. There was some of the federation thing. The Olympic esports movement was sort of still in play. I don't know where it is now, paused or something. But there was that. And then there was this shift in the market also. There's, I'll get too technical for some readers, I guess, but there's a capital shift in the market because we came out of, you know, COVID, which I think we can all remember, tough times for the world economy, leading straight into ongoing conflict, I'm going to call it, that is not solved. So capital and venture investments changed. So the venture capital investments that came into esports stopped, right? The model sort of changed, which meant that we have to reconfigure a lot of what we're doing at the moment. And I saw a great opportunity in that because not only in esports, but across means that you can now buy businesses at really low prices if you want to turn them around, right? Because they're default, they will have a hard time raising money. You have to go in and you have to reconfigure everything. And that's essentially what I've been doing my entire career as a COO, CCO, or whatever we call it, Maria. But that's what I like to do, sort of fixing the business, right? And then I thought about either joining a fund. I had some offers to go into VC, to be a partner in a VC and do the esports thing. And then I don't know. I don't think I would be a great VC because I'm too hands-on, I'm too opinionated, and I'd rather build it myself. And then I ended up on this model where why don't we raise some money and try to buy a team or some other businesses? And then we started looking, teamed up with Jacob, who had done Blast and Astralis before. We had the opportunity to buy. We were in talks actually pretty close with another team from Brazil, which was somewhat recently acquired by someone else. So we were actually in that dialogue, which was also an iconic team, right? It's MIBR for this time, but that was they're a great team also, right? And then we had the opportunity to buy Astralis, and we're like, oh, okay, maybe let's do that. And then honestly, the story is just we committed to that model. We started the company on the basis of buying Astralis, right? So we started Fusion, I guess. We announced it, I guess, the same day we bought Astralis, essentially, right? And then, raised some money from some people, bought Astralis, and took it over 1st of September. It's less than a year. Oh my God, it's only been 10 months.
Let me see if I understand that. I didn't know. I did my homework, but not that deep. You were founder of the company that bought Astralis.
I'm not the founder of Astralis, no.
No. You bought the company Fusion. They bought Astralis.
Yeah, we founded the company of Fusion, me and Jacob.
No, I know, but I didn't know that you have bought Astralis. Oh my God. Astralis.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No. Oh my God. I didn't know that.
So, yeah, we bought Astralis. So, you knew I had Astralis, right?
No, yes. Yeah, I knew. Okay. We are CEO
There's
of
nothing.
Astralis.
Yeah, but we own it. Like we own Astralis. We own 100% of Astralis. No. So Fusion is essentially an investment company. So we created a operational investment company. So we raised some money in that to acquire esports assets, and then we acquired 100% of Astralis through Fusion, right? So I'm the founder and CEO of Fusion, which you could say is de facto then the CEO of Astralis in that sense, right? And then we are looking at buying 2 or 3 more teams to add to the portfolio into Fusion, right? So that was the whole model, actually, to buy teams. So now we're looking for the next ones.
I prefer don't say the word that Maria write for me here in my doc, because I think she's shocked as I am now. Like, because Astralis, it was like, oh my, I don't know how to say that. I don't know how many hours I spent watching Astralis win the tournament in Counter-Strike, you know? I didn't know that you were owner of that. I thought you were just CEO of the Astralis. So you were
no. The whole idea was to start elsewhere. Being a CEO of Fusion would have no point if we did it. The only reason we created Fusion is to acquire Astralis and more assets. So we launched Fusion by buying 100% of Astralis. So Fusion, which I'm the co-founder with Jacob, and we have some cool investors with us, we own Astralis. 100% of Astralis. So so that's just the setup. And then we are looking for a couple of more assets to buy, which we're looking at.
If you want to buy Sports 101, I'm here. Don't worry. Just 2 chocolates, it's yours.
I'll buy it, and then I can do podcast every week. Here, that's the.
No, you don't need to buy for do every week. It's okay, just come. Just come. But if you want to buy to do that, everything. White chocolate, you can buy me. Don't worry.
Sure, we can do that. No, but we own it. We bought it.
Maria?
Oh, I'm sorry. And I want to ask other thing, like from the other topic, and also you create, but today you invest in companies, right? So what do founders usually get wrong when they pitching investors? Like,
that's a good question. That's a different one, I guess. I would say, just disclaimer, I guess I do angel invest sometimes also, but back to what I said before, I'm not a very good investor essentially either, because you're supposed to be passive and all that stuff. I don't know how to be passive at anything pretty much. So I do get pitched quite a few things. I'm not an expert, I just want to say here, right? There are people that are much better at vetting opportunities in a systematic fashion than I am. I essentially just go for the vibes. That's if people are cool, then I like it. So that's number one. But if what I've learned when pitching, raising money, I guess now I've raised, I don't know, 10 million or so dollars lifetime. I've been part of raising myself, and having been on the other side of it, I think you go. I haven't been asked this ever actually. Let me think. What are the mistakes? I guess if it's from an early stage perspective, we're answering it, like young entrepreneurs. You have to understand that people are going to buy you way more than they buy the exact solution of what it is, because it's very hard. Doesn't matter what you pitch. Like, let's say you come tomorrow, Maria, you pitch something. They say, I'm going to build this app and it's going to cure cancer. Like, cool, nice. And then you show it and it's a prototype. Oh, we built some code. Okay, nice. I already know then that's going to take 3 years. Within those 3 years is, breakdowns of code. There is fatigue. There is burnout. There's hiring a team. There's hiring the wrong people. There is, fundraising that doesn't quite work like you want. There's hypotheses that don't work the way you thought it was going to do. There's going to market, which doesn't work. There's founder disputes. There's everything is in there. Those you have to solve rather than just building an app, right? So you essentially end up betting pretty much on people and saying, do I think Maria and the team have the ability to overcome these challenges and keep going? And that's also sometimes, which is, I don't know, I could do better with that. But when I get pitched early stage ideas sometimes from people that are new into entrepreneurship, I'm not a good investor, because it's so long time since I've been there. And to be quite frank, the answer is like, let me know if you're still around in 3 years in entrepreneurship. Because back to what I said before, you have to run the gauntlet a few times and figure out that it's pretty freaking hard to do entrepreneurship. There's a lot of things that has nothing to do with strategy or building the right feature. So usually the answer is always keep at it, see if you can stay alive and get up in the morning in 3 years also and think it's as fun as you think it is now, and then let's have a chat. So it's so I think early stages, it's a bet on the people and their resilience and their stamina, right? Very few ideas at the end of the day are, this is the new idea that's going to change the entire world, right? It's all about execution at the end of the day.
So you are going to the last part. I have just 2 more questions for you. One that it wasn't in my script, but you said that you won the Astralis. I have to ask, what are the plans for Astralis?
What are the plans? I guess we announce a coach tomorrow, so people are waiting for that one. But I think it's pretty simple. We bought Astralis and we'll buy more teams because we believe in esports teams being profitable at the core if you run them the right way. And we believe that esports teams will be worth as much as other sports franchises in history. We truly believe in that. So we're going very long with this, right? And we still think that something like Astralis is just very hard to replicate, right? It's been around for a long time. You were saying that you have an emotional attachment to it, right? Yeah. You can't create a new Astralis tomorrow, and as time goes by, it becomes even harder to create a new Navi, a new G2, new Liquid, T1 Fnatic, whatever. I could name all of them, right? Or Astralis for that matter, right? Because the legacy will be there. So what we're doing now is essentially just, I wouldn't say restoring it to former glory. I think it's about rebuilding a winning culture that we can build upon. Because it was definitely dormant, I'd say, over the last 3 or 4 years as a brand, not only as a team, but as a brand. We want to make the brand alive again. We want to make it proud of what we did. We are still the most successful team of all time in Counter-Strike. Yes. Even though I always joke with Nicholas, the CEO of Vitality, about it. Is it Vitality now? Is it us? Well, debatable, but we are at least top 2, right? So
yeah. Oh, I don't know the whole time, because NAP in 2010, if I'm not crazy, it was 85 wins if you get right.
87.
And 7 wins. But for my generation of esports, that I was following, for me, it was Astralis.
Yeah.
If there was a bet in that time, it was easy money. It was just betting.
Yeah.
Astralis, you knew that you are going to get money.
I mean, I obviously agree, but I'm also wildly biased, so I don't know. But it's no, but I think we want to be proud of that again, and I think esports has a tendency of just because we didn't win for a while. It's been a while, 4 years since we won anything. Oh, Astralis is dead. You don't see that in any other sports, do you? Right? We were in a final not too long ago. I mean, that's okay, is it not? Right? Now we're a bit out of the top 10 again, but hey, we're still here. Good players and all that. And I think esports has such a, I don't know, people, it's like if you don't win, there's only 4 teams that are good at any given time, right? And I think we're our own worst enemy in that. And we have a brand, which I think Astralis, because of what you just said, the mainstream acceptance of Astralis in general is very big, very, very big. So when you say Astralis around the world, people have a remembrance of it because it was in modern history, right? And we want that brand to be cool and say, oh, that's nice. Are you still playing? Yeah, we're trying to win again. Okay, nice. But that's number one, right? We want to make it cool again and be part of the gaming culture rather than just being a team that is irrelevant until we win a major again. And that also means that the performance culture we're setting up is, I want to have a winning DNA. I want to have winners that knows what it means to win, that have done it before, so we can build the culture the right way. Exactly like I was talking about in the very early, when you asked Maria what I learned from gaming. It's about getting in there, failure, improvement, but from a winning perspective, doing the sacrifice and the passion for the game of wanting to be the best in the world. That's the culture we want and want to be known for, because ultimately the results will always be the outcome of a process, right? If we do the process correctly. So we're just getting back to that. And then the terminology we do is it's not the fifth major, right? We're just trying to win the first tournament again. It's 0-1, right? We are the next generation now, as in any sport. Let's see if we can win the first one, and let's take it from there. Instead of this whole, oh my God, we have to win the fifth major, or it's bullshit, all of it, right? So it's a boring answer, but essentially it's also an answer that I know will ride the esports wave, right? We are still very relevant. People enjoy watching us. People enjoy the brand. They can feel it's alive again. And then, let's see. Do I want to win everything? Of course. But,
I said that it was 2 more questions, but I have one more because
Sorry.
it's not like, because I was looking in the Astralis website, and Astralis has just CS, or they have other teams?
Right now, only CS, and then academy team is coming. And it's I think we're trying a bit of a different model with Fusion, right? I think our dream is to acquire a MOBA specific brand. So we'd like to have Astralis to be predominantly shooting games, and then have another brand which plays League of Legends, Dota, MLBB, and then we do separate, and then we share the resources on top. So I think that's the model we believe in at the moment, that we have 2 or 3 brands, but they're known for different things. Because sometimes I'd say it's harder. We could expand, of course, but Astralis and League of Legends, I don't know. It's it was tried. I'm not sure they care so much in League of Legends about us.
So, and for your last question, we always do this question for all your guests when we call them here. So, you have worked in various companies and various leadership roles. So, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome?
Yeah, every day. I think, yeah, for sure. I was saying this to a friend. I think this is a great ending question, by the way, Maria. I say, yeah, have you ever experienced? Yeah, I think what you learn as you get older is that everybody is just winging it. Like, it doesn't really matter how high you get. You have so much incomplete information at any given time that you're just going to have to trust your gut. The only difference is now that I'm just 43, so my imposter syndrome is sort of backed by 20 years of working. So I can do a bit more qualified guessing. But of course, and I think if you don't have imposter syndrome, you maybe are not pushing enough, right? Because if you keep pushing into new areas, you don't quite know what you do, then then you'll be too confident, right? So I think imposter syndrome, can also take many shapes of it, right? And I think it's healthy to have a small bit of I actually don't know how to do this, but as long as you can pair that with the conviction about saying, hey, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it my everything, and then let's see what happens. So yeah, every day, maybe not every day now, but it always comes. Like I don't know. I keep finding myself in new situations that I have no idea how to solve, and then it sort of works out.
This question started because it was basically with me. 1 week ago, maybe, I did one interview for a company. I'm not going to say, but it was changing my career, everything. And I was like, it's not possible. It's not happening with me. I'm not going to be able. And in the same day, we did with Hitchan. And my friend asked his dad, and he said, oh, exactly like you. Every day I feel that I'm not able to do things. Every day happens. Then I said, oh my God, if they are feeling that and they have much more experience than me, for me, it's normal. That's okay.
You just go for it, man. It's what's the worst that can happen, right? It's you fail a bit, and then you get up again. You figure it out.
Yeah, nice. So thank you very much, Jonas. It was a pleasure to have you again. Like I said, for you in the chat today, for you and wherever you want to recommend, the door is open of always. Like I said, I will never forget, because in that time that you come the first time, I have sent, I don't know, 1,000 messages and no one answered me in that time. And you are the only one that said, no, let's go, let's do that. So
why not?
Yes. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Maria. It just for you know, Jonas, she's almost crying here in the docs. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. You did great. It was
You're doing
amazing.
great, Maria. You're doing
Yes,
great.
Thank you.
it was her first podcast in English. She had done one in Portuguese, but in English. So you did great, Jonas. Usually you give you like some minutes if you want to say something like where they can find you, a project that you are starting, or something like that.
I don't know. I could find me on LinkedIn, whatever. I just keep up the good vibes, and you guys keep up the good work. And maybe you also had imposter syndrome today, Maria, right? But like I told you, it doesn't matter if you're 17 or 43; it still keeps happening. So you did great. I love it, Marcelo. It's been a pleasure. We'll do it again in 3 years.
Perfect. I'm here. Then in 3 years you are going to have like 5, 6 teams. Then you can talk for more teams again.
Sure.
It's okay.
Sure.
Don't
You
worry.
can try that.
So thank you very much, guys. I have to see, but I think tomorrow we have one more guest. I'm going to post on LinkedIn. And thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.